Well, hello, you guys. We got a problem here. When I turn on this stupid Nintendo, all it does is blink lights. I get no video, I get nothing. So guys, today we're going to try and fix this, and I'm going to fight with it until it works. Speaking of fighting, here's a word from my sponsor for today. Guys, I don't know why, but I ain't going to detention. But Seaway Valley Wrestling is having a detention, and you guys are all invited. Cornwall, Ontario on September 14th. Do not miss this event. If you like wrestling and you like carnage, then get to see Seaway Valley Wrestling's detention. The Last Game Hunter will be there, along with all these glorious wrestlers. Okay guys, we're back, and all you're going to need today is a Phillips screwdriver and a good electronic snipping tool. Okay, so let's take this bad boy apart and see if we can fix it. I believe there's 6 screws in this. They're Phillips. This is before Nintendo tried to stop people from getting into their consoles. Way before the idea of console hacking and stuff like that, so. There we go. Off comes this piece. Okay, so now we need to take all of this here off. Gonna suck a little, but it's not so bad. Keep in mind, these screws are all the same from the outside. This system was missing one, so it's probably damage or something maybe to the other piece. I don't know. Let's take these out. There's a screw here, of course. And they're actually still the same screws at this point. Funny how back in the day companies like to use pretty much the same thing throughout, and if you could get away with it, why wouldn't you? And you might want to get rid of anything to do with spiders. One more here. Now we have the shield off. We're getting there. So of course, here's where your cartridges go in. You know, like so. I slide into here. Now normally your biggest culprit, of course, is your 72 pin. But for it to actually be turning on and off and on and off and getting no video, the 72 pin at this point is not the culprit. Yeah, it might not be great, but it's not the culprit at this point, and while it's open I will clean this, so hopefully we can you know, get the best out of this that we can. Now at this point I think I might be completely, oh no, got a couple screws here. Now we have a couple that are longer, so just put those aside. You know, those are your back screws. I think that is it. That's still my... That should not be put down. Oh. You never know what you're going to find inside one of these consoles. Spiders and creepy stuff. I mean, it is old. Hope not to, but keep finding screws in this thing. Okay, so let's get that screw. Okay guys, so before we go any further here, we gotta unplug the joysticks. And the power button, reset button. There we go. So now we're free. This piece here, I believe, just comes off. There we go. So there's our bottom shield. Other than a pile of screws, this thing isn't that horrible to take apart. It's just a lot of screws. Yeah, and there's some more speeders. There's that wonderful expansion port that Nintendo never ever used. Yeah, what a waste. Would have been cool to see what kind of expansion stuff they would have done with it. Sometimes. So what we're going to focus on today, guys, is the lockout chip, which is right here. And it's 4 pins in, so 1, 2, 3, 4. We're going to clip that pin and bend it so that it's not connected to the motherboard anymore. A couple cool things about taking care of that lockout chip. And what that does, one, it allows you to play region-free games. So that part is really cool. The second is, it should get rid of this blinking light. So it's got a couple bonuses here. If this works, we now have an opened Nintendo, whereas we can play Japanese, wherever. Doesn't matter where the game comes from. You can pop it into this Nintendo and you should be able to play it just fine. So let's get that done and see if we can get this bad boy back up and running. Don't be afraid to bend these, just don't crack them off, because if not, you're going to have other problems you need to deal with. I'm not sure if you can see that on the camera. Lighting may not be allowing it. But pin 4 over here is cut. Okay guys, so now that we have that pin cut, all we can do now is put it back together and hope for the best. Oops. Almost forgot the 2 long screws going back in. I like to put everything back together to the point where I think I've nailed it. If I put it all back together thinking that mentality, then usually it will work. If it doesn't, which happens the odd time, I end up having to take it all apart again, and that makes me really, really sad. I watched a hilariously old movie last night, guys. I'm trying to remember it. The Adventures of Hawk or something, a space movie, where he was a criminal going around robbing freighters and stuff like that, and some kid ends up on a ship by accident, and he turns his life around by promising this kid that he's gonna return him to his parents. It's a pretty funny movie all the same though, but pretty horrible acting, as it would be for its era. Seems to be missing, oh there it is. Whew, it's getting hot in here. I'm not going to take off my clothes, although you wouldn't see it in this angle anyway. YouTube may not like it. Doesn't help when I got this big LED light shining down on me. Figured it'll help you guys see better. Helps me see better, that's for sure. Okay guys, so there we have it. We now have a NES that is apparently region unlocked. Lockout chip has now been disabled. Let's see what happens when I hook it up to the television. I'm getting a little bit of artifacting in my screen at some point. Thinking my cable might be bad. But here we go, the system is now working. I do not have a blinking light anymore. And now we have a region free, ready to rock
NES.
Okay guys, well as you can see now, my little NES is now where I wouldn't should call it a little, it's the big one. But it cleaned up pretty decent, as you can see, and it actually now works pretty good. It wasn't working at all before. I got a little bit of artifacting going on, but as I finished with my cable that it was plugged into, it turns out I have a bad cable as well. So I need to change that. So other than that, you just, again, need a Phillips screwdriver, a very decent side cutter, so you got a decent point that you can get between those pins to cut it, and probably a magnifying glass, because I can't see nothing. Or take a picture with your phone, zoom in on the picture, and make sure that you cut it completely through, as I noticed that when I cut it, there was a little tiny piece, and I only found it when I looked on my phone. So guys, till next time, I hope you enjoyed this show. Please share, like, subscribe if you are not, and till next time, game over.